video shaking so much. Going down kind of a country highway here, which actually is better than the city highway, so. But you know. Actually, it's the fucking Pop-It thing. I bought a flexi thing that the Pop-It then goes into, which is great. It's the only thing for my car that I found will hold my phone. I've tried like 5 others and I had to return all of them. I'm surprised Micro Center hasn't banned me. But then I want to talk about kind of the interactions I've had with leftists, and hopefully I want to start a really frank discussion, a really difficult discussion. There's going to be a lot of terse words thrown around. There's probably going to be some name calling. There's probably going to be a lot of nasty memes. But ultimately, we need to push past that and have a really frank discussion about the infighting between people who are more right of center, people who are more left of center, than people who are fairly left. I have been around all groups. In order of who I get along with the least versus who I get along with the most, obviously the one that I get along with the least is the far right. I mean, the fact I'm a woman that isn't basically getting down on my knees proverbially or literally and sucking your dick already puts me on the shit list. So I don't probably need to explain that one. But the next group that I have a really hard time with is the far left. And I've gone into a lot of far left spaces. I went to a college that was very far left. Not every liberal arts college is like that, like the far right wants you to believe. But the one I went to, the way the people were, a lot of the exaggerations and straw men and straw women they used around like PC warriors and political correctness and social justice warriors, that's just how people literally were. It wasn't even a joke. That's just literally how they were, if you remember that era. And I think that was the precursor to a lot of the Gen Zers on TikTok being the way they are now. I think they learned it from us millennials. So I always kind of laugh when millennials give Gen Zers shit for all their like weird gender shit. I was like, they learned that from us. But digression aside, and I had a lot of very bad interactions with them. I got very disillusioned in college, and I really had to wake up to, because I grew up around a lot of the people that were part of the anti-vax movement, or at least sympathetic to it. If they weren't straight up anti-vaxxers, they kind of could get along with it in a very complacent, still damaging way. Then I went to college, though, and I basically saw a lot of the same behavior, a lot of the same shit, just from the far left side. When Trump got into office, I noticed that a lot of the way the Trump people acted, and the people I went to college with, the social justice warriors, I call them socialists, they acted pretty much the same. And that was kind of really eye-opening me once I thought about it. Like, I have a few particular stories, and maybe I'll tell them in another video, where I had people who were supposed to be supporting me, who were supposed to be my allies, because this was also the time that I was figuring out that I was, being more comfortable with the fact that I wasn't 100% straight, non-gender, not necessarily gender conforming, not enough that I use they, their pronouns, though if I think I was like a 16-year-old nowadays, I probably would consider myself non-binary, but for whatever reason, it's just not. Anyway, but these people who were supposed to be my friends and allies, in some ways that hurt more, because the people from the background I came from were assholes. I knew they were assholes. I knew they'd never accept me, but there was something that really hurt about being around people who, their whole thing was about accepting people from underrepresented groups, and they rejected me. They rejected me fucking outright, for some of the dumbest reasons, too. Because I wasn't anti-capitalist enough, because I was asexual, which is funny, because now they're all like, oh, we, LGBTQA, and that stands for, and I was like, I roll my eyes, because, and maybe the ones now are genuine, maybe some of them have changed their minds, but when I was in college, there was a lot of feminists that really did not know what to do, and a lot of the LGBT that really did not know what to do with asexuals. And they really kind of, I'm not going to claim the asexuals were the most bullied. That's trans people and non-binary people, like, by far. But they kind of really, they made no secret they didn't really want us around. And they were really kind of hypocritical, kind of blatantly hypocritical towards us. So that was fucking cool. Some things have gotten better, but fast forward, I see a lot of the same behaviors. So I just watched this really good video that I want you all to watch, and I don't agree with 100% of his points, but I still want you to, and you can listen to it. You can listen to it while you're doing something else, because Lord knows it's what I do. Because I don't actually have time to sit down and watch YouTube videos anymore. I only have time to fucking listen to them while I do something else. Usually around trying to make money. But he lays out some really good points, but the point that I like the most and inspired me to make this video is he says that basically the center, the kind of left of center, and the far left need to stop fucking fighting. In history, when they have come together and actually agreed on some things and stood against, not on everything, just it stood against the far right would lose. But right now, I do believe the reason the far right is winning is because there is a lot of far left. Well, there's a lot of centrists too that just don't care. But honestly, they could be their own video. But there's a lot of people on the left that, from my experience, basically just have this mentality of, if I can't burn down the entire fucking system, then I'm just not going to do anything. I'm not going to try to incrementally change it so that's at least closer to what I want. I'm just going to do nothing. I'm just going to do fucking nothing until I can burn down the system. And I think even if given the chance to burn down the system, they probably wouldn't take it. It's a lot of being ideological, and quite frankly, a lot of it's being lazy. And yeah, I am kind of, for someone trying to start a tough discussion, I am being a little pissy, but you know what? I have a right to fucking be angry. Quit talking about burning down capitalism and murdering more CEOs, and don't actually murder any CEOs, but get up off your ass, stop talking only about extreme action, and get up and start doing the boring shit that actually changes society. True good revolution that actually lasts is fucking boring. And that's the thing a lot of y'all need to get through your fucking heads. And you say what you will about the far right, they understood that. They got involved in their local communities. They did the long game. That's why they're fucking winning right now. And another good point that he makes in that video is that they gave a solution. It's a really shitty solution that is Nazi era, strong man, I'm going to come in and fix all your problems, and usually that involves blaming it all on a certain group of people, which back then was Jews, now it's immigrants. And, woke people, whatever the fuck that is. And no, I don't think Trump's Hitler, that's a whole other video, but the techniques being used. But Trump is like Hitler insofar as the techniques and patterns of behavior are similar. I don't think actually you're going to get another Holocaust with Trump, and I'll try not to get on this too long, but Trump's the kind of person, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim, black, Mexican, gay, if you kiss his ass, he'll like you. Hitler, there's no amount of kissing his ass. He had groups he hated, and that was it. There's nothing you could do. He just hated you. He drove away his own best friends who were part of those groups because of his hate. So, but we need to have a tough discussion about, okay, what do we agree on? Let's stop talking about what we disagree on. I know you don't need to keep fucking telling me that you don't agree with me that capitalism is salvageable. I believe that American capitalism is garbage. You believe capitalism is garbage. I got news for you. There's middle ground there. Stop acting like there's a middle ground, okay? I'm sorry that in theory we disagree so much, but you know what? In practice, we really agree quite a bit. Stop acting like we don't. We do. No, I have not read Marx. I'm not going to read his entire book, but you know what? I am familiar with some of his concepts, and I think a lot of leftists are surprised by how much I actually do use a lot of the concepts of the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, know, a lot of leftists would probably argue is a very normie understanding. I don't give a fuck, quite frankly, okay? It's a practical understanding, okay? At the end of the day, whether you want to admit it or not, we both believe that the working class are what supports society, not really, really rich people. We agree on that. That's a pretty good basis. Why can't we work off that? That's my fucking question. And it should be simple. Like, not everything's simple in life, except when it is, and this is pretty simple, okay? You're allowed to disagree with me on a bunch of things. And unfortunately, a lot of people are probably still going to misconstrue this to mean that they're not allowed to disagree with me. I'm saying let's stop spending time on what we disagree on and spend more time on what we do agree on, even if it feels like very few things, which I think you'll be surprised how many things we do actually agree on. And I will say too, I also, like, my best friend is a lot more, or one of my best friends is a lot more leftist than I am. He has his issues with them too, but he sympathizes a lot more, and a lot of my understanding of the left and where they come from comes from him. Especially when I don't agree with him, sometimes I can ask him where they're coming from, and he can explain it to me. And again, like I said, I went to college with a lot of leftists. Another thing we agree on is unions. A lot of people forget, and I'm not saying that we should pull everything from him, but the origin of unions in America, like when unions at their height, one of the big, I forget his name, one of the biggest guys in unionizing was actually a capitalist. He was actually staunchly anti-communist. He's kind of part of McCarthyism, which isn't good. So like I said, he's one of those historical figures where you have to kind of look at the good and the bad and say, okay, we're going to take this, we're going to fucking leave this. But the point I'm saying is that the unionization that you talk about being so great, you know, we need to return to that unionization, well, guess what? It has its roots in capitalism. Okay? So before you start acting like capitalism is inherently incompatible with any socialist or what you consider socialist ideas, read a fucking history book on union history in America. Okay? And again, I am not here to discuss whether unions are an inherently capitalist, inherently socialist, inherently communist. I quite frankly kind of don't give a shit. It's one of those things where I have my opinions, but quite fucking frankly, you can believe whatever you want to believe, because it doesn't change the outcome ultimately. At the end of the day, all I care about is that you agree that we need unions. And we need to agree that unions are a solution. They're not a perfect solution. Unions can become corrupt, like a government or a corporation. But you need unions in that trifecta in order to balance governments and businesses. Because in theory, governments and businesses are supposed to balance each other. They're not doing that right now. They're fucking in bed with each other. They're fucking each other right now. Okay? So we need unions to then balance them out and make them all make each other balance each other out, if that makes sense.